Hello and welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Gibbon podcast. Wow, 2026, what a year. We started off on the 1st of January in Scotland with snow. It snowed for 4 days continuously and then followed with about a week and a half of being snowed in and snow on the ground. The snow came, the snow went, followed by the flooding and the rain. Aberdeenshire recorded 21 days of no sunlight. This was done at the airport. Crazy. Just these dull grey skies. We don't normally get that up here. The season's been weird with just everything that's gone on. We've just got, as I say, from the snow, heavy thick cover of snow, animals struggling to get food, pheasants absolutely raking through the feeders and everything. I mean, everything was on our feeders, deer, you name it. You just looked at the tracks, to literally biblical flooding, rainwater everywhere, fields turning into boating lakes. I think our deer got hold of small boats and scuba gear. It was the only way for them to move around. The floodwaters are subsiding, the ground has replenished, the water table is back up. What's the devastation it's left in its wake? Well, chatting to Richard up at the rearing field, it is a mess. The ground is soggy. He needs to start moving hens out and getting things going, and it is just, it's abysmal, really. Hopefully it'll dry up and we'll have a relatively good year. There will be no chance anybody can complain about a water shortage. What else has been going on? Well, it marks the end of the hind season. A strange deer season for me, just due to changes in the way some of our land was rented and things like that. I had a good stag season, but the hinds are slowed right down. Did get a nice invite out. It's actually been probably quite handy, especially with everything that's happened in my family life and having to run up and down motorways and sort out properties, etc. It's been manic. We're going to deep dive into a very interesting conversation with a lady who has gone through a pretty rough year, and it was something I didn't even know about, the term Walter Mitty, which was basically is talking about somebody who is pretending. Suddenly, once I'd learnt about it and found out about it, it was all over the place. You saw it in the press. You had guys dressing up in army officer uniforms and parading on Remembrance Day. And I didn't believe this actually happened. But when you actually meet somebody from in the shooting community, that their life has been basically ripped out, turned upside down and stamped into the floor, it was quite shocking. So I thought what we'd do is we'd sat down with Emma, and it took a lot for her to get to a position where she was happy to talk about it. She's done a fantastic recording with me, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. But if it does touch you in any way, or you think, actually, hang on, some of that feels like it's happening to me. And again, it doesn't have to be, I think we said in there, it's not just men doing it to women, it can be women doing it to men. This is a serious thing. Reach out. Get in touch with the right authorities. Do not go through it. Emma obviously suffered for 8 years, and it's pretty serious. So let's jump into that recording and we'll have a listen. Quick word from our sponsors first. The Outdoor Gibbon podcast is proudly sponsored by the Shooting and Hunting Academy, an online training platform and UK registered learning provider that provides a host of accredited and nationally available courses and masterclasses delivered by leading industry experts.
Hi guys, it's Rachel here from Style, the new social app for field sports and farming. Join our countryside community on the App Store or Google Play. Just search Style Country. Enjoy the show!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Gibbon podcast. Today I'm talking about a bit of a serious topic, but first of all we'll get on and meet Emma and who she is. But I've got to say, I am sat in a lounge, or a sitting room as I keep getting told, with the most amazing taxidermy display. And I mean literally, the intro photo on the podcast, you'll see this display. It's some stunning work up there. Anyway, I'm joined by Emma. How are you doing?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me on this. So just a quick intro how I met Emma. It was a strange one. I was trying to buy some bits on Facebook Marketplace of all places, and popped over to see her. I bought some hooks, popped over to see her to buy some other bits and bobs, and we got chatting, and I thought that this topic, I think, is one of those ones that I think needs to come out and be described. We'll get into the body of that in a second, but let's have a bit of sort of how Emma, let's have a bit of introduction about how you got started in the shooting world.
I remember being a small child. I was out with my father, who used to shoot shotguns, not rifles, and I was in a park down in Surrey, and I was about 6 or 7, and I saw a keeper who was a friend of my father's, and they were doing a cull in this park, and he shot this beast, and I remember thinking, I really, really want to do that when I'm older, and it was one of the most iconic things that I can remember of my childhood. It just did completely change the way I thought about deer and wildlife.
Fantastic. And then obviously time's gone by. I think you've done some absolutely fantastic things throughout your life, which is a whole nother podcast anyway. But you ended up in Scotland, and I think you got into pest control or something along those lines.
Yeah, I did. I decided to go to Scotland to semi-retire from the film industry, and I'd been up there to visit some friends and been out shooting with them, and I decided that I wanted to live in Scotland. It was so beautiful and so peaceful, and it was definitely the life that I wanted to lead, and I can't remember where I'm going now.
No, that's fine. Don't worry. So you obviously you got into that that world, and that's where basically the topic we're going to talk about. We might as well get onto it now, because I never heard of it until I actually sat down with Emma and had a cup of coffee. Was a situation called a Walter Mitty, basically somebody behaving as somebody they're not, and I think that's where your husband appeared in the scene. Probably, was that 8 to 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was about 8-9 years ago. I had to call a pest controller, which was a bit of a joke because my brother's a pest controller, and he suggested I call an independent pest controller, so I did, and that's when my husband pitched up.
Well, he wasn't your husband at the time.
No, he wasn't. And we got chatting about shooting and various forms of pest control, which I'd done with dogs, ratting mainly. And I had a few ratting dogs that I used to take out, and he said, I could take you ratting. So I started going out ratting with him, with my dogs. And after about a year, we actually got together.
Right.
And very, very quickly, well, in fact, the day after we got together, he said, here's your uniform, you're going to be a pest controller. And I was like, okay. But because I'd already done sort of what I call a more natural pest control, I hadn't used rodenticides or pesticides, I'd just been using my dogs. I really fell into it very easily and really enjoyed it.
So that business obviously started to grow. I think you were quite a driving force behind that business.
Yeah, it was quite a small business. It wasn't doing particularly well financially. Obviously, having worked in the film industry and run my own business, I sort of made it my job to turn the business around, because I saw that it could have massive potential, and so I did push really hard to clear the debt that it was in and move forward and get some really cracking big contracts that were worth a lot of money.
So let's now obviously talk about this fella that's now appeared at your doorstep, developed this friendship, now relationship. You're now working for him. How did he infiltrate your life so perfectly in a strange way?
Oh, he was brilliant at it. I had some books on a bookshelf, and he said, I see you're into the SAS, and you've got some really interesting books there. I said, I think the armed forces do a brilliant job. I think they're undervalued, and I think that veterans get treated really badly in general by a lot of people, including the government. Probably not allowed to say that. And he said, well, that's really interesting because I used to be a para. And I was like, oh my gosh, which made him sort of my hero because of the work that the paras do in all the armed forces, boys and girls. And then after a little while, it sort of, there would be certain things that he would say, oh no, I can't talk about that because I've got PTSD from being in the SAS. I've never told anyone that I've been in the SAS. My ex-wives don't know. My family don't know. And I felt so sorry for this guy. I thought, how brave. And then, he showed me his medals and his oath of allegiance and his passing out parade and what else? A big painting he had done of himself whilst he was in the SAS, and actually a book on the SAS with his picture, obviously the face blanked out, and he'd written in it that it was him and his friends.
Yeah, because I think that was one of the things that book he told you to pass on to his child from another marriage.
Yeah.
So as far as you were concerned, everything looked pretty genuine.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I didn't question it. I didn't know that you could even fake something like that. It didn't occur to me. I mean, his truck was, had, Para 2 stickers all over it, veteran stickers. He told me that his knee that had been operated on was from when he got shot in Northern Ireland. And, all his mates were lost in that, and he used to get very emotional about it. And I actually found out that he got that injury falling over in a frozen vegetable factory.
Really? So nice X-ray of a kneecap dislocated, and that was all fake at the time. But as far as you were concerned, during the relationship, everything tallied, and just basically the lie was so watertight that you believed that he was this veteran that had done all of these magical things. Oh,
the stories he used to come out with about being in Afghanistan, Iraq, even to when we flew anywhere. We can't fly out of Doha, and we can't fly out of Northern Ireland because I got compromised there, and I had to be medevaced out of Iran, and blah blah blah. And it was all the biggest crock. There wasn't one bit of truth in any of it.
That actually then got a bit more sort of serious after that. He kind of took your, I think you were saying, your independence about being able to drive and things like that started to disappear. Do you want to explain about that?
So to start with, when I was driving, and I'd been driving myself for years, obviously. I'm 57, so I've been driving for a long time. He'd say, no, it's better if I drive, because the way I was taught when I was in the SAS was escape and evasion, and it's much safer if I drive. I'm just here to keep you safe. So I didn't drive for the whole 8 years that we were together. I didn't open any mail. I wasn't allowed to open my own mail because he was taking care of all of that for me, and it was better that he did it so that I didn't have the stress of doing it. And looking back, it sounds absolutely bonkers. Obviously, I was an extremely confident person working with high net worth individuals and celebrities within the film industry, and I look back now and it's tragic what someone can do to you without you even knowing what they're doing. I had no idea. No,
and it sounds absolutely crazy, but I think one thing I noticed when I came to your house, even though we can carry that on in a minute, it was the cameras. Obviously, we're sat in the lounge now, and above the doorway, there's a CCTV camera, like a 360-degree CCTV camera. And you explained to me that the cameras were all over the house.
Yeah, they were. There was cameras in the house, and there was 24 cameras around the house. I thought they were to protect us, because, he could be found at any time by the but the bad men, he used to call them. So I thought that's what they were for, and I was later told by some very clever people that they were actually there to watch me. We were never apart, 24/7, never ever apart. I wasn't allowed to do anything on my own.
And that I think you said that got to the extreme point where it even got to you washing and getting undressed, that he literally had to be there.
No, I didn't wash myself. He washed me,
Right.
and undressed me and laid my clothes out for me.
It's so difficult to sort of actually be able to comprehend that this actually happens, and you're not the only case where you get these type of people, are you?
No, not at all. They're very clever, because what they do is they tell you you're going mad. They tell you that you're imagining things, that you're ill. I've put on, since he left, I was just under 6 stone, about 5 3/4 stone, and I'm 5'6". I was so skinny, and it's just stress, because you're living in this world where someone's telling you something on a daily basis, and you're inside, you're screaming, oh my God, no, this isn't true. I'm not, a lunatic. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not any of these things that you're saying I am. I remember saying to him, I don't have any control. The only thing I could control was food. That's the only thing I could control. So I've actually got up to 8 stone now. So I've put on some weight, and I've had a lot of help, some really, really good people, really amazing friends that have helped me out, like unbelievable how they've pulled for me. And I've obviously met some new friends, and yeah, it's been an amazing journey, not one that I'd like to repeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the food, I think you actually said that for you would cook, but you wouldn't eat it, you just chuck it in the bin, but cooking was your ability to do something.
Yeah, I love cooking. I'm really good at cooking. I do eat a lot of meat, especially venison. And I loved cooking. I still love cooking. I love cooking for people, but no, I wouldn't eat it. I'd throw it in the bin, because it was the only control I had.
So just jumping back a bit, obviously you did a lot of shooting, the pest control side of things. He then was telling you stories about how he had all this land and you'd go out and shoot. And actually it was quite funny, because since we've met and we actually went out stalking, and I took you to one of my permissions, and you literally rocked up there and said to me, I've been here before. And I'm like, no, I've been in Scotland 10 years and I've had this since the day I've been here. And you were like, no, we've been here. Yeah,
I've shot on your land.
Yeah.
Because he told me it was his land. It was his permission.
And I always knew I had a poacher, but I never knew that...
Well, I'm glad I have to say it actually wasn't me that shot on your land. It was him. But, no, everything was his. That's my land, that's my land, that's my permission, that's my permission. And because I was totally in love with this guy and besotted with him, I believed him. Why would you not believe somebody?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't worry, you can shoot that deer once it's out of season. No, it's fine. I've got special permission. I'm above the law. I got told that. Yeah.
Well, you actually then said that you thought you had gained all your deer stalking qualifications, and you showed me your DSC 1 and your DSC 2, but they're all fake, and his are fake.
Yeah, they're all fake. He said, oh no, remember that time we went out with blah blah blah, not naming names. He's actually the guy who's putting you through the course. I was like, no, you have to go on a proper course. No, don't worry about it. You worry about so much. Here you go. And I had, you've seen it, I had those certificates with my picture on.
Yeah, literally.
All fake.
Fake DSC 1, DSC 2 certificates, all... They look... They're not right. They're not right. But if you didn't know, you would believe that you'd pass the course at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so you were running around. You obviously had a firearms ticket because you have to have a firearms ticket. But you were talking about, obviously, then things started getting weird with the different types of firearms he kept getting and changing. And eventually you kind of didn't know which way was up.
No, not really. I've obviously got my favourite rifles that I liked using. But the amount of rifles that came into the house for him was just ridiculous. But every time I'd say, actually, do we need that? Don't we? Who needs 3 243s? Well, you might, but do you know what I mean? A pest controller doesn't need 3 243s.
Absolutely.
You just don't need them.
No, and it just sort
a 9mm rifle. What in the thingy? Sorry, I'm trying to swear. Who needs that? Not doing what we were doing.
No, exactly. You were pest controllers going out doing pesty work, but it just seemed to be odd. So let's...
Oh, hang on. Can I pull you up on that, though? According to him, when we used to go to dinner or go to one of these big functions and people asked him what he did, he would say, we shoot deer for distilleries and we take people out. Well, yeah, we did do a little bit of that, but that wasn't the mainstay of it. The mainstay was pest control. And
Right.
If you're a pesty, really and truly, what do you need? Probably need 2.2, thermal, or night vision, whichever you want, to do rats and pigeons. And you need a couple of air rifles, a 204 for a long-range fox, 17. That's all you need, really. And obviously, taking deer out, treble 2 at least. But
Yeah. But it obviously it was really interesting to chat about that, and that kind of then leads on back to this whole sub story of the military side of things. I think you've showed me photos of going out to distillery parties or things like that where he's dressed up there parading around in a parrot tie.
Yeah. He had the whole blazer with the parrots. I don't know if you've heard of Pathfinders.
Yep.
Okay, so not many people know about Pathfinders, but that's the thing that he... So he went to the Army Airborne, and he did actually do that. He did do that for, I think, 3 months. He did his basic training. And then he actually got done for fraud and had to go to prison for fraud for impersonating an SAS officer at the age of 21.
That was trying to get the car, wasn't it?
Yeah.
From a car dealership near, and then trying to say that Balmoral had sent him out there to get this.
Yeah. You can look it up. You can see that. That's actually, my girlfriend rang me and she said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Well, not really. I'm a ruddy mess." And she said, "I need you to sit down." And she said, "Have you typed his name into Google?" I went, "No." She said, "Type in his name and put soldier after it." And I did. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it says his name. And then I was like, oh my gosh, my husband's been in prison. What is going on? And then we found out he'd been in prison after that as well, once for fraud and once for something else that we don't know. I'm guessing it might be something to do with domestic violence, because we can't find any. It would come under the domestic violence umbrella.
Yeah.
It's only because I'm talking to you and sharing this with you, but most women don't want to talk about it.
No, absolutely. And that's a key point that we'll put in here. If anybody is going through anything like this or needs any help or anything like that at any point, reach out. And Emma has offered that she's happy to talk to people because she's been through it and is willing to share that experience, or just be there as a listening, or be able to point you in the right direction. But you kind of had a bit of a shotgun wedding as well, didn't you? That was
literally
a shotgun wedding.
Yeah, we did. I said, look, if I'm getting married, then I have to get married by somebody of the cloth, so a vicar or similar. And so we went into Inverness and we went to church, which was a bit strange because he wasn't a churchgoer. And he literally schmoozed the vicar. And she was lovely. You can't fault her. She was wonderful. And, said that he was Christian.
Right.
Well, he wasn't.
Obviously not.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't think so, but there you go. and then said that we wanted to get married in a gun shop.
Right. Of all places, of course. Everybody wants to get married in a gun shop.
Well, it didn't bother me where I got married.
Okay.
As long as there was a vicar there doing the ceremony.
Right.
So we actually got married in a gun shop, and it was on the television, it was all over the papers, shotgun wedding. Yeah.
So obviously for somebody that's acting like basically almost like an actor, he liked the press, didn't he? Because
he loved it. He loved a bit of fame.
Right,
Loved it.
And all over the press, everything and sort of you've had the wedding, pest control stuff's all in the press. Him doing wonderful things around the northeast of Scotland.
Yeah, and I remember I was asked to do a film, and I thought, oh no, I don't really want to do another one. And I remember saying to him, I don't really want to do it, and he was really like, oh no, you got to do it. And I'm like, I'm sort of done in the film industry,
right?
People aren't this is a joke, people aren't who they say they are, and so I was like, okay, I've got one film in me, all right, I'll do another one. So he had to come along, and I put him in costume.
Right.
He was brilliant. He played 4 different characters.
Right.
Bearing in mind that he really wanted to do it. He was so convincing. I was like, oh my gosh, you should have been acting, you are amazing at it. Now I look back, the last 8 years of my life, he was acting.
He's been acting.
He didn't care for me. He didn't love me. He saw a means to an end, in my opinion. I had my own house. I owned my own house. He had nothing apart from a failing business. There you go. Nice meal ticket there.
Yeah, absolutely. Not good at all. The Outdoor Gibbon podcast is proudly sponsored by the Shooting and Hunting Academy. Through the Academy, shooters, hunters, and those involved in the use of firearms can gain an in-depth and unique level of training that enables them to shoot better, behave more effectively in the field, up their strike rates, as well as learning new skills. Crucially, those new to deer stalking, the Academy also offers the Proficient Deer Stalker Certificate Level 1, the PDS-1, a deer management certificate that is nationally recognised and accredited both by LANTRA and UK Rural Skills. Visit the Shooting and Hunting Academy to find out more. Let's get back to the show. So let's fast forward a bit now. So obviously things started to change a bit. Now you were doing these expensive holidays, and I think Thailand was the place you were going to. It seemed to be. When did you notice the cracks appearing? Because obviously at some point something changed.
Okay, so we were on. I said that Thailand was quite, what am I going to say? Promiscuous.
Right.
And that it was I'd been there a lot. I'd been out there a few times with a mate of mine, helping some animals out there. And I said, oh, I really want to go to Thailand with you because you'll love it, da-da-da-da. And he really didn't really seem that keen. And I said, look, the only thing you need to know about Thailand, and I don't know if you're okay with this, because the guy was, sorry, but he was a prude.
Yep.
Okay. So I said, you're going to see things out there. There's a lot of sex industry out there. You're going to see it. Are you going to be okay with that? Oh, yes, it's fine. I'm fine. So we booked the holiday. It was a very expensive holiday because we had to fly business, of course.
Of course, yeah.
That wasn't me, by the way. Had to fly business, had to stay in a 6-star hotel right in the middle of Bangkok. And we went there, flew in. I'd flown in loads before, so I was fine with it. It's a really busy airport. Flew in there and stayed at this particular hotel, which I won't name. And as we were coming out of there for the first evening, walked past a massage parlour. And it was the same massage parlour that I used to go to get a pedicure or shoulder massage. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the same people there. And they're running it. And I was like, oh, hi. And I'm sure they didn't recognise me because I'm just a customer. And I said, you should go in and get a shoulder massage. Because he had a bad shoulder and neck.
Of course.
From jumping out of aeroplanes when he was a para.
A war injury kind of thing.
Yeah, war injury, yeah. So I went downstairs and I honestly didn't know it was a brothel. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Right.
I just, because I'm a woman, I'd never been approached in that way. They'd just given me a pedicure or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't worried at all. And, you know, to all intents and purposes, I've got a loving husband who was never, ever going to look at another woman. And plus the fact they're all sort of 20 years old and I'm an old bird. So anyway, he went in there, had his massage upstairs for an hour, came down beaming like a Cheshire cat. And I said to him, how was it? Was it good? And he said, she's made me feel the best I've ever felt. And I was like, brilliant. That's so good. I'm so happy. And so we went back there every night for a massage, or he did. I thought it was a bit over the top myself, but, you know. And he started changing pretty much straight away.
Right, okay.
But I know that the reason was he, you know, had a massage with a happy ending.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And so then he couldn't wait to book the next trip back.
Okay. Now, this is obviously then things started to take a bit of a downturn back in Scotland for you.
Yeah, seriously bad. He would put bottles of wine out on the side that were empty that I knew I hadn't drunk and say, have you got a headache this morning? No, I haven't got a headache. Because I don't shoot and drink.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of the time I was having to shoot.
Yeah.
So I'd say, no. Do you want some paracetamol? No. And then he'd look over at the corner and I'd be like, oh my God, there's 2 bottles of empty wine there. Can't even remember drinking that. Or a bottle of gin or a bottle of vodka. Well, I'm not being funny, I don't drink gin and vodka. But it was always in the house for guests. And I was starting to think I honestly thought I was going mad. I thought I was losing my marbles.
Right.
Which sounds nuts because you know me now and you know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm a bit strange, but I'm not. And
you're there. You're not losing your marbles at all.
No. So he did that, and then I would say, look, you've got to remember, we've got to go and do so and so farm today. Oh, don't you remember we did that last week? And I'd be like, no, we didn't. We did. And he'd talk to you in that sort of condescending voice. You just don't remember. Are you tired? Maybe you need to go and see somebody. And yeah, it was really, looking back, it's really scary because they convince you're bloody nuts.
Yeah, and then obviously, as well as that, I think you said there was physical.
Yeah, that didn't start straight away.
Okay.
It was mentally, obviously now I know, but it was a coercive relationship, mentally abusive. And then, so my friend died. She was 80 and it was quite shocking. So we raced up to her farm and it was at night time and had to get the police out to discover that Barbara had passed away. And I was really distraught because she was just wonderful old Doric lady I loved. I used to take her venison. Venison was the only meat she would eat.
Oh, fantastic.
So I used to cook her venison pies and venison stews and all sorts of bits and take them up to her because she was on her own. And it was that night I came back and a neighbour from down the road came round to talk about my friend who'd passed away. And I said, did you want, let's toast my friend. So I got out some whiskey and we had a dram each and then she left. And my husband was out cutting up beasts in the chill.
Yep.
And I thought that was a bit weird because he wasn't really affected by her death at all. It was just like another thing. He didn't give it 2 hoots, even though he had a deer stand. I've forgotten what they're.
High seat.
Thank you. Sorry, my brain's gone to mush. High seat up at hers. And I thought, that's a bit weird. I thought maybe he can't grieve or whatever. Anyway, this lady went and he came back in. And I don't know what had happened when he was outside. But he came back and his eyes used to go really funny. They used to flash. It sounds nuts, but his eyes used to flash. And I remember that was the 5th of December because that's when she died. And I didn't even see the punch coming. I didn't even see it. Whack, bang, straight on the floor. And I remember waking up the next day with a black eye that was unreal on the sofa. I don't know how I got on the sofa, but I was on the sofa with a blanket on. And he said, when I got up, my freaking head was banging. And he said, oh yeah, you got drunk last night and fell over and blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I didn't. I had a dram. I didn't get drunk. I had a dram. No, you fell over. I had to put you on the sofa. Anyway, let's go into Aberdeen for lunch, shall we?
As if nothing had happened.
Nothing. And I had this shiner. You've seen the photo of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I've never had a black eye before. Flaming hell, that was huge. And then, so he convinced me that I'd done it. And I was like, I didn't do that. Yeah, you did. You tripped over a dog bone and the rug and you hit your head on the side. You banged your head off the side. I was like, no, I think I'd remember if I was tripping over a dog bone.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was that. No, by this time, I'm completely batshit bonkers. I can't work out anything anymore.
The coercion has basically started to actually eat away at your mental capacity, and you just now are believing what he's telling you.
Yeah. I believed everything he told me. I didn't know until after he'd gone, that any of this. I didn't know he wasn't in the SAS. It was a total shock, absolute shock. And somebody said to me, have you heard of the Walter Mitty hunters? And I was like, I don't even know what Walter Mitty is.
Well, I didn't when you actually mentioned it to me. I was like, wasn't there a film about it? Because I think there is a film. There's a Walter Mitty film out there that talks about it, but I didn't know that this is a thing that people do.
Oh yeah, but everything was a lie. It wasn't just he was a Walter Mitty because he said about being a para, being a pathfinder, all the heroic stuff, getting tortured in Afghanistan for 19 days.
Right.
Sorry to laugh. And then being medevaced out. And
is that the incision that basically was the vasectomy scar that you were telling me about?
Yeah. He said that he had a scar on his testicle from when he was being held captive in Afghanistan, and obviously felt very sorry for him, and he got out after being held captive for 19 days, and actually it's a vasectomy scar. I know, you got to laugh, haven't you? Now you can. I can laugh now.
You can laugh now.
At the time, I couldn't. I was a mess. I was like, what? My whole life is a lie for the last 8 years,
Yeah. No, and I think the last straw was, I think, the hit, and you.
That was the first hit.
Right. Okay.
And then obviously we actually went back. So that was the 5th of December. We went back to Bangkok.
Right.
For 38 days.
Wow.
Which is nuts to go to Bangkok.
Yeah.
I mean, Bangkok's great, but you normally go to Thailand to travel. But he didn't want to go because he had a new addiction by then. And so this would be the third time we've been back.
Right. Okay.
And you can, if I say something, you cut it out because it might be a bit weird.
Just keep going.
So my husband was a bit strange and didn't trust people that were men. He didn't want men touching him. He only wanted women. So when it came to his massages, I said, that one there, that's a girl, she's a girl, she's a girl, she's a girl, she's a girl. That one there, big hands, big feet, Adam's apple. And one night he picked this particular person for his massage. And I was like, that's a ladyboy, don't you? He's like, oh, no, she's fine, she's really nice, da-da-da-da. I was like, well, as long as you're happy with that, I don't mind, no judgment from me. So anyway, he obviously developed or was developing a relationship with her. We went out there on, as I said, I think it was the 14th of December and came back on about the 19th of January. And he actually got engaged to her when we were out there on the 11th of January. That's nice, isn't it?
Wow, absolutely mental. But obviously you guys were still married.
Oh yeah, we're still married now.
You are still married now. Well, we'll come on to that in a minute because that's another plot twist, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit.
So, yeah, engaged to obviously this
person
in Thailand while you're married.
I didn't know, though. I didn't know because I think, I can't prove it, they use a drug out there a lot called fentanyl, and there was a lot of times where I would just literally pass out.
Right.
But I can't remember. It's really quick. I mean, I don't want to take the stuff again because it's very vile. But I remember I'd be sitting somewhere, and I remember being taken up to the hotel and being dragged. He's a big guy, bodily pick. Man, I'm only tiny, and at the time I was probably only 6 stone.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking when I woke in the morning, why do I feel this bad? I feel awful. And now, when you look back, it's obvious that I think there was being stuff put in my water.
Right.
So that I didn't wake up and find out that my husband had actually gone out for the night and got engaged to somebody else.
Right, yeah. And then obviously you came back to Scotland.
Yeah, came back to Scotland. Thought that was a bit strange. That was a horrible holiday. Didn't really enjoy 38 days all on my own because he was spending 8 hours a day in the gym.
Oh, okay.
But he wasn't obviously in the gym.
No, obviously
he told
not.
Me he was in the gym, but I think he was doing some other kind of sport.
Oh, obviously, with a happy ending every time.
Very happy for him. So I came back to Scotland, got straight back into the pest control. He was really weird. Everything was a bit weird. And we're driving down the road one day, and he said, "Oh no, the PTSD started kicking in, didn't it?"
That's right, of course, yeah. The letters.
So he kept telling me that his PTSD was really bad. That he needed to go to what is called H, which is Hereford, which is the SAS, where the SAS base is.
Yep.
And anyone who's in the SAS calls it H.
Yes.
Well, obviously, because he was in the SAS, he called it H. Bearing in mind, he wasn't in the SAS. So he had to go to H to go and see the PTSD trauma centre there.
Okay.
That doesn't exist, by the way.
Right.
Okay. So these visits were getting more and more common. I actually found out because of a very clever friend of mine, he wasn't in the trauma centre in Hereford. He was actually in Bangkok.
Right.
Visiting his chum.
Fair enough.
Yummy. But it was all right because his wife was at home doing the pest control, running around like an idiot to keep the businesses going. Yeah.
And then I think it came to a head, didn't it, basically?
Yeah. He said one day, I sort of started to work a few things out. I was like, no, this isn't right. It just didn't add up, certain things. And yeah, I can't exactly remember what happened, but he said, is it okay if we go and see a lawyer today? And I was like, yeah, okay. What do you want to see a lawyer for? Oh, about getting divorced. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? What? Oh, yeah, they've told me at the PTSD trauma centre that we should get divorced. I love you and I'm in love with you, but we can't be together anymore. I was like, what? Anyway, I had little bits of dribs and drabs of information regarding what he'd been up to. And so I called his bluff. And I said, he was sitting down at the kitchen table where you and I have had lots of cups of tea. And I said, you do know she's still working, don't you? And he went, what? I said, I've got friends in Bangkok. And he said, yeah. I said, well, I wired some money out there. I said, and most people out there will do anything for 200 quid. I said, a friend of mine went in there and she is still working. She's still working? This panic in his voice. And I was like, and I remember him walking out, and I remember putting my head in my hands and saying out loud to myself, oh my gosh, I've broken the man from the SAS.
Right.
But I hadn't broken the man from the SAS.
Because he wasn't in the SAS.
No. But I did think I was really clever to have done that. I was quite clever to have done that, but obviously he wasn't in the SAS, was he?
No. And I think that was the final straw, basically, wasn't
it? Then he didn't like that I'd found out, really. He didn't. I didn't know the whole thing.
No.
I only knew a tiny, tiny bit of it. It's all come out since then. This has taken a year to come out, but I remember standing by the kitchen sink and him coming in and he was obviously raging. I don't know if he'd been speaking to Ting Ting. Sorry, I shouldn't have said Ting Ting.
Doesn't matter. You can say what you want.
He'd been speaking to Ting Ting or whatever. Anyway, came in, he was raging, and I just remember standing at the door, and I didn't think I'd said or done anything, and this headbutt came out of nowhere. Boof! I was freaking on the deck, blood, pushing out of my nose, and I remember coming round, and this is one of the most awful memories that I have. Him standing over me with blood absolutely. He bust my face. Yeah. I mean, it was, but you still see the scar on my face.
Yeah.
And he leant down, standing over me, and he went, "There you go, pissed again." That's the sort of thing I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And it does break you. I mean, you just think, well, I just give up now. Can't deal with this anymore.
You were done at this point.
Yeah, done.
And that was it. He left. And
he left a couple of days later.
Right.
So a couple of days later. I think I spent 6 days on that floor.
Just lying there in a pool of blood.
Yeah, with the dog shitting and pissing everywhere because I couldn't move.
Right. And obviously he's able to watch all of this on CCTV.
Yeah.
Just being able to see
That's
you.
nice, isn't it?
Yeah, literally lying there, not doing anything.
Yep.
Move forward now. We're now 12 months on.
Yeah.
You are. We won't go into the legal side of it and all the rest of it, but he seems to have got married, and you're still married to a person from a country called Thailand, in Scotland, which is crazy. But
he got married just down the road. You know where he got married?
Literally just down the road. Yeah,
just down the road.
But the interesting part is the Walter Mitty Hunters Club, which is a Facebook group stroke thing, and they go after these fakes, basically, have really gone to town on the information that you supplied them, and they've basically put it all together that everything, his medals, his trophies, all the stuff he's got there is completely fake.
Everything is fake. Everything. Absolutely everything.
Former soldiers get on there and they look at the numbers and they go, none of these numbers add up. He would have been in, when he got out from prison in 92 or something like that, he would have had to join the service, do something extremely brave to get a medal that went out of circulation in 93.
Yes.
It's crazy, really.
Oh, the guy's bonkers. I mean, he makes me look totally normal. He's freaking bonkers. Who does that? You know, I can tell you things about my old job when I, in the film industry.
Yeah. And
I can tell you what I did, what films I did, and you can probably verify that I did them at some point. You can, point. But that would be like me saying that I did, I don't know, Oliver. I didn't do Oliver. I wish I had. But, or Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Or one of these iconic pieces. I have done some iconic pieces, but why would you lie? Why would you lie about that?
But to sustain a life at almost 8 years, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, but he did it to his former wives. He did the same. He did the same. And I know for sure he did it to his last wife, because they all used to joke about, back when I was in the war.
Right.
So I'm not the first one he's done it. I'm the third one he's done this to. Third one that we know of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, but the nice bit is you're coming out of it. Hopefully everything will get sorted. And actually it's purely because of the people around you and the people you've met that have basically kept you where you are. Yeah,
some really amazing... You find out who your friends are. That is absolutely for sure. And this is going to sound nuts to you. I'm actually glad it happened to me, because I wouldn't have met the people I've met, and it was awful, and it was the most dreadful thing to go through. And I remember a particular friend of mine saying, you will come out the other side of this. And I remember saying to him, no, I won't, because he always wins. Talking about my husband, he always wins, and everyone thinks he's amazing, and he's just a lie. You've seen, his gold medal buck is roadkill.
Yeah.
Sorry, You know, it's lovely to have these things. It's lovely to, I mean, I've got some really nice heads, but I wouldn't go and say, yeah, oh yeah, I shot that. Yeah, it was great. I shot that with a treble two. No, I didn't. I found it at the side of the road.
Yeah,
who does that?
But that's the other thing, obviously. He's stolen a lot of your beautiful taxidermy and stuff like that. Obviously, we've still got all these wonderful, absolutely magnificent, full taxidermy up on the wall. And I mean, literally, when you have a look at the picture I'll put up, because it's just a crazy wall of stuff. But I think you've said you've lost a load of like your row heads and things.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
all my row heads. All of my row heads.
Yeah, and it's just not
all
right.
of them. And there would have been 70 odd.
Right.
Because I kept all the oddities, because I'm into oddities.
Yeah.
Do you call them oddities?
Malforms.
Okay, malforms. I call them oddities.
Right, whatever. Yeah.
Weirdos, or little freaks. When I walk up to them, I'm like, oh, you're a freak. I love you. You're a freak. So I'm into freaky heads. And, yeah, so I don't know, all of them gone. I've kept one of them. And that's the tattoo on the back of my neck, is that head.
Right. So, well, at least you've held on to that.
Yeah.
So I think realistically, I think we've covered everything. I don't want to drag this out too much, but I'm going to put a message out there that if anybody can relate or touch it, this has touched anybody, please reach out, because at the end of the day, nobody, and it doesn't just have to happen to. It's not just guys doing it to women. This can happen the other way around, where it's women doing it to men.
It's actually quite common. I've found out that it's really common.
So please, do reach out, and we'll try and put you in touch with whoever we can guide you in the right direction to get help, because at the end of the day, nobody, and I mean nobody, should ever go through anything like this.
No, they shouldn't.
And realistically, Emma, you've come out, and it's amazing that you've been able to sit down with me and tell me this story, because I remember when I first met you, and that was probably getting on 5-6 months ago now. You were
a mess.
Yeah, I'd have said so. You were trying to sell bits and bobs because you just wanted stuff out of the way, and yeah, you were a mess.
Yeah, no, I was. But
you were terrified.
Yeah, I was. I was terrified of everything. You know.
Well, you were terrified of people. You had your friends, but everybody else was.
Oh yeah, arm's length. Didn't touch anyone. Men weren't allowed to come near me. Yeah. Literally, wouldn't have any male near me.
No, it's crazy, and I think for most of that time you were kind of sofa surfing and staying at different people's.
Yeah,
houses.
because I lived so remotely, I didn't feel safe in my home, and plus, all the cameras, you know, they were live for a long time, so it means he was watching me for a long time.
Yeah. And I just think it's. Yeah, we've put this out there because I know it's away from my usual podcast, but I think this one's one of those ones that I think it's worth putting out there, because it's affected somebody within the shooting community, and I think it's really important that people know about this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Shooting will always be a massive passion of mine. Anything to do with the countryside, wildlife, conservation. Anything like that, I'm so pro that kind of thing, and it is my life, and to not have that for a year has been hellish. Yeah, really horrible.
I think that was the other thing. Obviously, all your firearms, you took your guns into storage, and his were taken at the same time.
Yeah,
and you've actually surrendered your license at the moment. So
yeah, I did, because it wasn't safe. Because if he'd come back into the house and said, "Open the gun cabinet," what are you going to do? You're going to open the gun cabinet. Do you know what I mean? That's why I relinquished.
Yeah.
Because that guy, I know no one's going to see exactly what he is until it actually comes out completely, and it will, because the shooting community is huge.
Yeah.
And people will, it's not being funny, they're going to know who he is, because of the domestic violence that he got found guilty of. He can never hold firearms again, and of which I'm glad, but that will make him very angry.
Oh, of course, yeah, no, absolutely. But at the moment, you're working forward. You're going in the right direction, and hopefully you will have everything sorted out. Probably, well, we're over a year now.
Yeah,
but hopefully very soon you'll be able to move on with your life.
I think I'm moving on quite well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for allowing me into your house and allowing me to sit down with you and actually record this podcast.
Oh, thanks very much.
No worries at all.
God bless.
I hope you found that podcast interesting. I certainly did. It takes an incredibly strong and brave person to be able to speak about that. I know that she's been suffering and it isn't easy, but we sat there and obviously spoke about what we were going to do before we recorded it. And for her to sit there and be so clear, concise and to the point about it, and being able to actually now find some of it funny. I know that 4 months ago when I first sat down and discussed about recording it, it was almost fear and terror in her eyes to actually go through that ordeal again. And when you hear about it and you get that last part of the story, lying on the kitchen floor for almost 5 days, not being able to move and just not wanting to carry on, it's like nobody should ever go through this. Now, it doesn't just have to be that your partner, your whatever it is a Walter Mitty in the military side of it, but this domestic violence or this abuse or anything along those lines is happening within our community, and it really, people need to talk about it. We're going to be helping Emma actually achieve those qualifications. We've worked the way through that so she can get herself back on her feet. The firearms tickets and all the rest of it, that will come in due time. It's no rush. Her firearms are in storage and are protected. But it's actually helping somebody rebuild their life and get them back into that position. And there are people out there suffering in silence, and they don't shout about it. They don't reach out to people. They don't have an idiot with a microphone shoving it in their face and trying to actually record a podcast with them. So if you know somebody or it's affecting somebody, please do get in touch. Have a look at victim support. And in Scotland, it's really good. There are some great groups helping with that. It's going to take a bit for you to be able to reach out or get your friends to reach out. But do not let them suffer in silence. And on that note, the next podcast, we will dive onto something else. But I thought this one was really important to bring out. So I'm going to leave you there, and we'll catch you at the Stalking show. Bye for now.